Hello and thanks for clicking on the latest episode of my post-apocalyptic diorama. Today I'm going to show you how I build the river part using epoxy resin for the very first time. So without big words, let's take a look on how I build this thing. First I build a few decorative items, like these wooden pylons. If you like model kit building videos and are new to my channel, please consider subscribing and linking this video. I'm currently also running a subscriber giveaway challenge. Please check the video card on the top right corner for more information. Thank you so much. After everything is glued together, I apply a light brownish surface primer onto the pieces. This will give them a nice base color already. After the primer has dried for around 12 hours, I add a layer of this awesome looking mahogany tone. I don't aim for total coverage here, trying to give it a more natural look. Of course, later I am going to weather this piece further. I use a small sponge to apply different gray tones onto the stone piece on top. If this technique is interesting for you, please check out the first build video of the street part of this diorama. There I use the same technique to create the look of the concrete road. Let's start the weathering of these things. I build a total of 4 of them. They come with the dock with stairs kit, 2 of them in each package. Before I did the weathering, I applied a glossy varnish to protect the previous paint job. The final look is created using various oil paints. I put them into the camera view this time, so you can see by yourself which color I'm currently using. The next thing I'm going to build is this cargo container. This container will be submerged in the river, next to the boat I built some weeks ago. I use black primer for this model. Honestly, it doesn't matter this time which color is used because I'm going to overpaint it totally anyway. I cover this model completely with the German camouflage black-brown color. This color gives a really nice base for the rust effect that will be applied now. I also created some other scenery objects, like this broken barrel. I apply random streaks and areas of different rust colors. This doesn't look so good now, but will make more sense later. After everything has dried for around a day, a chipping fluid is applied. This fluid needs to dry for around 30 minutes before the main coat can be applied. Now it's time for the main coat. That has to dry again for around 30 minutes. I use a toothpick to prepare areas where the blue main color should go away mostly. Now a hard brush dipped in water is used to scratch away the color. I think this gives the container a very nice look. What do you think? Please leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you very much. Let us begin with the weathering. This time I choose a green wash as the starting point. I use oil paints to create random streaks. They are blended with a flat brush and dry after around 24 hours. I apply 2 layers of matte varnish. This step is more important than normally, because the container will be covered partially in epoxy resin and that could destroy the paint job and by an extend the whole look of the diorama. Now all the parts are attached to the intended places. I hope to create a halfway realistic harbor floor as one could imagine it after an apocalypse. Here goes the container. I create a ground texture around the objects with this special terrain paste. It will be barely visible later, but definitely makes it overall more realistic than just painting the wood. I use this still water texture now, because the paste dries matte, but that's rather unnecessary, because the epoxy will have the same effect anyway. Now it's time for the boat to take its final position. If you missed this build, check out the info card on the top right corner. After everything is ready and in place, I start adding little stones from different sizes and color. And of course, we need vegetation. Everybody needs vegetation, even the people after the apocalypse. At this stage I mix the glue I used before with water and drip it everywhere. I'm not finished yet, some more parts will be added later on. Like these branches for example. I build this liquor from the Resident Evil video game series off camera. But Jesus, this was awful. I don't know which material that piece is made of, but if there is a material that is unable to be glued together, then it's this one. Anyway, nothing to see here. Let's move on. Oh well, this guy didn't make it. Hope he will be later visible through the resin. I forgot who manufactured this kit, but funny finger position you have chosen there. A green shader color is applied, hard to see on camera, because well, it's a shader. This will give the stones a slightly green tone. The whole thing must now be fenced. This is important so that no resin leaks out later. I use acrylic glass and low melt glue for this. The acrylic glass is also covered with a special tape, more on that later. Silicone is used to seal it further. As you can see, I was really worried about leaks and want to make sure everything stays where it belongs. If you need a bathroom plumber, I am your man. So let's make a little break at this point. If you followed my young channel, you probably know that I don't like to show the products I use so obviously. That has multiple reasons, but the main reason is that this channel isn't sponsored by any company or anything. I want this channel to be about my artwork, and not about some manufacturer. Even you probably already know that I prefer products from specific different vendors, at least when it comes to colors. I pay the products I use out of my own pocket. This counts also by the way for the epoxy resin you can see now. The reason I'm telling you this is, that this time I feel the need to show the product I'm using now. I'm a totally beginner when it comes to epoxy resin, and this thing is probably the most dangerous substance a modeler like me can come in touch with. So I thought, since I've a YouTube channel, Why don't tell the people what was my experience and what did I learned when using epoxy resin for the very first time. Most of the videos I watched on YouTube didn't show the products they were using so explicitly, so you can just make guesswork at best. I'm using the Pro Plus system from a German company called Epoxy. Their epoxy resin isn't really cheap, and it has a long drying time, but let me tell you the following. There are probably thousands of different epoxy resin manufacturers. Just make sure you choose the one that fits your need. And also don't forget, all information I'm going to give you here is about this specific epoxy resin. Every product is a bit different, how hot it can get, how high one layer can be and so on. Please make sure to read the instruction of your product carefully before start using it. And if you already used epoxy resin before, that part of the video is probably going to be boring for you, so please feel free to just skip it. And for all others, please stay with me while I explain some of the basics. So the first and most important thing you have to watch out is your own security and the people around you. Epoxy resin is a chemical that can seriously harm your lungs. Please wear a facial mask with the right filter attached. It's also recommend wearing suitable nitrile gloves. Make sure the room is properly ventilated. You should also make sure to seal the object properly. Leaks are no fun at all. Epoxy resin is really hard to remove once it touches a surface. Always safety first. The next thing to look out for is the layer height that can be casted before the resin gets too hot. That is really a disaster if that happens. Search for epoxy resin fails on YouTube and you will see what I mean. If a layer is too high before it's cured, it's going to be really hot and destroy the artwork. The width and length of the area that is going to be poured aren't that important, at least for us scale modelers. The epoxy resin I'm using can go up to 5 centimeters with each layer, which is perfect for me, because only need to make one layer. But be aware that most epoxy resin can only go up to 1 centimeter before becoming too hot while drying. So please make sure to read the instruction of your product carefully. Another thing to look out for is the room temperature and humidity. Usually these liquids have their sweet spot at around 20 degrees Celsius, which is around 72 Fahrenheit for all you American followers out there. If it gets under 15 degrees, it will cure too fast, make it vulnerable to scratches. If the temperature is too high, it might not cure and stay liquid or burns your house. The humidity also should go above 70%, so make sure it's not too wet in your room. Anyway, enough of the talking, let's continue with the build. I first cover everything that will get in touch with the resin in a thin layer of epoxy resin. That one needs to cure for 3 days and prevents the formation of bubbles. Okay, off we go. This is a 2-component resin. First, the epoxy resin has to go into the mixing container and then comes the hardener. The ratio is 1:2. For each casting I prepared 1 kilogram of the liquid, which makes a total of around 6 kilograms that has been used for this diorama. Pretty crazy for someone who never used epoxy resin before, but fortunately it turns out well. The 2 components have to be mixed together very well until it becomes transparent. I choose some green tones for the color. That should give the river a dirty, and well, poisoned look. It's really important not to use too much color, because the resin is literally eating it. Finally, it's time to see if everything is sealed. That causes some sleepless nights for me. Turns out it's okay, but the supporting wood plate will be glued with the diorama, taking around 3 hours of hard manpower and a lot of tools to remove. Unfortunately, the wood is a bit broken now, but that's okay for me, just a happy little accident. After I had added the second layer, I noticed that the first component of the liquid is getting blurry, and hard pieces that looks like crystals can be found at the bottom of the package. I wonder what's that and how I could fix it. So here is the point. I made a huge mistake after I bought that product a couple of months ago. I put it in the basement while it was too cold outside, probably under 15 degrees. And that changes the epoxy resin's state of matter into its hard crystal form. I first thought I could throw away it and order a new package. But like water, the state of matter can be changed by heating the material. So I put the package in a 60 degrees water bath for around 20 minutes and the liquid is clear again and can be used after it has been cooled down for a while. After 3 days of drying time, we can remove the walls and take a look at how this turns out. Unfortunately, the special tape I used did leave some mark, which is quite difficult to remove. A cotton swab dipped in airbrush thinner does the trick here. But the tape did also leave some other marks, and even worse, I got this thing here in the middle. I don't know how to repair that yet. Probably I'm going to put a plate here later that will hide it. Anyway, the marks can be removed by sanding them. And then apply a small layer of epoxy resin to make it transparent again. And here is it, the final result. It's not without mistakes, but for my first epoxy resin project it turns out nicely. I hope you enjoyed this episode of my post-apocalyptic diorama build. Of course, there is more to come. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.